Okay. Yeah, thanks a lot for joining. Yeah, I hope there are other people also joining in a few minutes. Oh, yes, next one. So people are still dropping in. That's great. Welcome to the Thursday frequency. There's the post summit session, and I see people who were at the summit. That's great because I was not. That's why I have my colleagues here, like Ron as the co host and the master of disaster today. Thanks for joining, Chris and Ian, and of course Sherry. Thank you. And we also have Roman, that I know that he was at the summit. So I guess we will have a lot of insights for the ones who will watch just the recording. But the thing I can do now is just give the word to Ron, and let's kick it off. Let's jump into the agenda and share some insights from last week.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you so much, Dominic. So we'll just do quick opening. Well, that was the opening and intro. I'll do a quick summit wrap up. We'll share some, sessions. If you haven't watched any of the sessions or attended summit, we've got some recommendations for you, and then some talk about the new innovations, and then we'll have discussion. But really, we'll have discussion throughout pretty much the whole thing. So. Um, yeah, Summit was amazing. We had, I think, over 12,000 people descending upon Las Vegas again this year, and it was jam-packed. I managed our developer track, so I had 4 sessions and 6 labs focused on developer topics from AEP all the way through, AEM, so pretty much all through DX. And I was there's so many competing things at Summit, so it's hard to, manage your time to cover everything. But yeah, it was amazing. Sneaks, definitely something not to be missed. And this year was mind blowing that AEM had 3 sneaks. I think it's like a record for us as a business unit to have this much representation out of 11, I think. So that's a huge percentage of them. Project Site Leap, which we shared to the folks that attended our Adobe Developers Live session in San Jose. Last year, Project FrameSense from the Dynamic Media team, and Project Get Savvy. So, essentially leveraging AEM and other tooling to create dynamic personalization. So yeah, super fantastic. And the labs were packed. Even I heard which lab? There was a crosswalk, an AEM crosswalk lab on the morning after Bash. So it was like 8:30 in the morning after the Bash, and it was full. Like there was 100 people, sitting there taking this lab. That's dedication, and obviously huge interest. So I wanted to jump into, because I know Ian has to jump in about 10 minutes or so, but I had the pleasure of attending the AEM Rockstars event. And yeah, I mean, I was actually getting a little nervous about 10 minutes prior. It wasn't a full house exactly, but man, people came, and it was packed. So yeah,
Yeah, I
Ian,
was
how
talking
did
to Darren yesterday. I guess we had over 200 people badge in.
Yeah, it was you had a great group. They were boisterous. They were it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a great response from the crowd. I'm assuming that everybody on the call here has probably, I'm going to try to share my screen. I've never done this on Discord. We'll see how this goes. Share a slideshow. And do you guys see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes,
cool.
now it's here.
So we had 3 presentations this year, all of them from Europe, actually. So we had Onion Weber from Tech Division. He presented on using edge delivery services for more than your single website. So he goes through a company that has maybe a dozen different brands and how they go about managing all of their different content repositories in different Git repos, all their different code repositories and Git repos, and how they sync code changes across those things. So it was kind of just like an interesting architectural pattern. And then Martin Altman from Comramp Reply presented on aem Copilot, which is something they've been working on for integrating Gen AI with aem. Some of the stuff ended up overlapping with a lot of the things that were presented on the main stage. But a lot of the work they've been doing is actually in the Touch UI or touches on maybe some areas where the work Adobe's been doing doesn't, especially for things like customers who are on-premise or running managed services. So it was using Gen AI to do things like populate titles, descriptions on assets, or even properties and custom components. And then Scott Simmer from Netcentric presented, and he was talking about integrating edge delivery services with Adobe Journey Optimizer, and kind of ran us through a crash course of AJO and why you want to do personalization, why you even care about such a thing, and then showed how to integrate them at the edge. So doing it in the CDN and really getting pretty incredible performance. So keeping the perfect lighthouse score that everybody strives for with edge delivery services while still getting to access personalization. So at the end, Martin, walked away with the trophy. But all of the presentations were great. So when they when the presentations are available, the recordings are available, I really recommend.
Yeah, the recording's available now, so you can
Nice.
that QR code will link you directly to the recording, so you can check it out. So yeah, and you had these amazing T-shirts.
Yeah,
That
Brown's showing them off. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, they all
that were
went.
passed out.
Kaushal wasn't there this year. I filled in for Kaushal as a host, and he was disappointed that we didn't save one for him.
Oh well.
Maybe you can share the link to where we can order it.
Yeah, there you go. They're actually fantastic T-shirts. I mean, they're super comfy. So they're not cheap T-shirts. So thank you for yeah, whoever made the T-shirts. Thanks for spending some money.
Yeah, right. I mean, it certainly wasn't me, but
Yeah. All good. Yeah, so I think the Rockstars was and it, we had how many different Rockstar sessions are there? Do you know? There's Commerce Rockstars, I think.
Commerce
Running
and
through.
analytics both run a Rockstar session as well.
Okay. So there's 3 different Rockstar sessions. Yeah. Super cool. Super cool to recognize the amazing work by the community in the culmination of this event, right?
Right. Yeah, and we'll be back in the fall, hopefully, looking for submissions again. So I'll make sure to pop in and join you all here to promote that when we're ready.
Yeah, right on. That is good. Yeah, so one of the great things that I was able to do was to catch up with some of the Adobe champions at Summit. So it's a great opportunity, to meet people in person that I think I met, I don't know, probably at least over 10 people that I've never met, and Adobe people that I've never met in real life at Summit. So that's pretty fantastic. So, did anyone here attend if you went to Summit, attend the Rockstar session? Was any feedback on the Rockstar session? Anything that they should do better next year?
I thought it was great. No specific
Great.
feedback.
All right. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Okay, so let's jump into, and we'll get your feedback on some of the sessions that you maybe have seen. So I just picked out some of the kind of developer focused ones, and maybe not super developer focused. But so we had UPS, and you can all the QR codes, you can get to them, or you can just search in the catalog. The link is down at the bottom there, and then search for the number, right? So the session number, and it'll pop up the recording. But a great one from Nikunj and the team at UPS to talk about how they used edge delivery services and revamped their entire website, which was a massive undertaking. So that was a great session. I was not able to go to any of these sessions because I had all of my own to manage. But did anybody happen to attend the UPS one? No. Okay. Well, definitely check the recording. We've got a couple of partner sessions. One of them is the Bungie store and how they leveraged Experience Manager. Okay, yes, I would like to enable media. There we go. How they boosted speed and scale with Experience Manager, and then Storefront as a progressive migration. I think this is the visual comfort is the customer here telling their story of using edge delivery services with commerce, and the innovation of drop-ins, which makes using edge delivery services with commerce implementations a lot easier and a lot more flexible. And this is, I think, a great story to talk about, like a progressive migration, not like a lift and shift, but essentially taking a migration kind of slowly over time as you kind of take different parts of your operation into edge delivery services, et cetera. Skill exchange, generative AI was of course, like the main topic of Summit and of pretty much the universe today. So agentic conversations and agentic solutions, and we'll talk about some of the ones a little bit later of what we announced. But this was a great session. It was an skill exchange session, so it's a shorter session, about 35 minutes or so. Talking about really tactically as a developer, what do you need to consider when you're adapting generative AI through either API or other capabilities into your web experience. And so that one I highly recommend. And I know we generally this is edge delivery services focused. I added this Telegraph Media talking about their RDE strategy. So this is a cloud service session, but still interesting. And then another partner session, Celestial Cruises, fast track to hyper personalization. So talking about adapting edge delivery services in addition to other orchestration solutions. So any other sessions that you guys saw or that you would recommend that's not covered here?
Like in general, the labs. I like all
Yeah.
kind of labs because it's really is hands-on.
Yeah.
And I'm more the AEM guy, and I had to figure out how Journey Optimizer works. So HAO. Well, I struggled quite a bit. So, but it was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great feedback. As track manager, for my first time doing track manager, it was really interesting to see the range of people that come into labs, right? There are some people that don't necessarily want to go through the lab. They just want to kind of absorb. And then there's people that definitely want to get hands-on. But as you're saying, there's definitely, like if you're familiar with AEM, and then we definitely labs generally are kind of cross product, at least in the developer track it was. And so one of my labs I had, who is it? Deck and Lamont, they did a Firefly services automation for AEM, but using Workfront Fusion. So most of the lab wasn't really AEM. It was like Workfront Fusion and how you're building your all these nodes connecting into the APIs for Firefly to then create dynamic content that then automatically, changes on the website. So it was again a lot of people going, okay, I've never used Fusion before. So, yeah, how does this work? It was good.
Yeah, the labs are really great. So the question is, the handouts, are they available somewhere?
Yeah, no, that is a fantastic question. So handouts are not available, but I think they should be. One of the things when lab presenters, it's a massive amount of work for folks to put on labs. One of the things with the workbooks that they put out is that they're pretty specific to the environments that are provided, right? The two pieces of a lab are we're giving access to potentially products that you don't have access to ordinarily. So that's one of the, main benefits of a lab. And then we're giving you a guided, tutorial on how to use these solutions, potentially together in an interesting use case. I've asked my lab folks to create to just modify the lab workbooks if they could to take out some of the kind of there's a lot of content about like if you're sitting in this seat, do this thing and add this number to but if they can genericize it quickly, I think making those available would be I think it would be great for folks to see at least the process of how these things come together.
I think even if the stuff is still in the document, it doesn't harm. Because last year when I was in multiple labs, in some labs, the handouts were available through the app afterwards. But I think for most of them, they were not available, and it's really good to have a chance to read it again if, how things
Yeah,
can be
no,
done. Really beneficial.
yeah, no, I agree. And we told the people in the labs that I managed that, take a take a screenshot of the URL and you can save a version locally, etc. So people who were in those labs, I think did that. And some of the folks, ArchB is one of the solutions that some of the AEP team members use to put their training in. So those are just available. On the public web. And then I think Lamont and Deck did theirs in, of course, Edge Delivery Services. So theirs is also available just in public. But yeah, actually, Lamont and Dex, if I can get that link, I will share that here on Discord.
Oh, this would be great. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. So on the labs, Roman, it'd be interesting to find out, is
Chris?
there anything that you would want changed or anything that didn't work as you had hoped?
All right, happy to give some feedback. Yeah, I was on the one lab I was like about content fragments in AEM, how you use them in HAO when you plan like your campaign. And the story a little bit was about we do a campaign, email marketing for Summit 2026. That was a bit the story. But
Yeah.
presentation was like, okay, we start in AEM. Here's your content fragment. Create that. Then jump over to HAO. And just during the session, we figured out what we actually are doing. We're creating a campaign. So like the overall story was a bit missing. It really was like everybody sitting, 3, 2, 1, start. And then we were in the system and it was super fast. So you had to be on focus, on point all the time. Otherwise, you've been lost. But it's a bit like the story. What actually are we doing, especially like for the marketing people in here? So they not everybody knew like what HAO actually is used for. I think majority came from the AEM area expertise, especially the ones sitting close to me. So the content fragment was all clear what we do, but now we jumped in this tool HAO and what's going to be all about. What do we want to achieve? Like a bit of like this the meta view of everything was a bit missing. So that was just in the one lab I've seen. Which
Yeah.
yeah.
That's brilliant feedback because I've seen the same thing. The labs that set up that show here's what we're doing and kind of show that end-to-end flow first for like the first 2 minutes and then get people grounded on what they're doing, and then jumping into it are usually the ones that people follow more easily because they're like, okay, and then I think one of my labs did it. They broke it up into 4 sections, and then they did the intro, and then at every section they're like, okay, here's what we just did.
Cool.
Now we're going to do this part. Okay, everybody go.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Definitely great feedback. Anybody else? Anyone else attend a lab or have any
Can you all
feedback?
hear me now?
Yeah.
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 I attended a couple
Chris?
labs.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry.
Were you gonna say something?
Can you all hear me?
It's very
It's
quiet.
really low.
low, yeah.
Okay. I'll let Eric go, and then I'll look at my audio.
Yeah, I attended a couple labs, like the Universal Editor Lab, as well as like the Commerce Lab on DA with Alina. I thought they were all great. I don't have any like. I guess my feedback is, I consider myself a savvy AEM user. I've been working with AEM for many years now, and I was able to follow along fairly easily. I could tell some other folks, maybe some of the concepts were newer to them, and a couple folks were kind of getting lost. And the sessions, while they were great, some of these folks who were falling a bit behind, I can tell some of the people sitting around me were panicking a little bit because they were behind and they couldn't figure out, they're getting stuck. And I know that there's people around the room from Adobe kind of looking for that and trying to help keep pushing people along. I don't really know what the solution is, but maybe just longer session time and maybe just to move slower a little bit for some people. I don't know if that's the right solution or not, but it's just something I observed, so figured I would mention it.
Yeah. No, that's great. The TAs are a good thing to have. I've wanted to do something at Summit for developers, and Jeff, the gentleman that I had taken over this for, also had said he's tried to have it'd be great to have like a developer boot camp, like have labs the day before. I know partner day is that Monday, and so that kind of complicates things. So again, there is only so many hours in a day that you can schedule programming for, but I think it would be great to have, while people are there, opportunities to do maybe back to back. Like one of my labs packed in a ton of content, and it ended up being too much. They had to simplify it in their second go around. But they were like, this would be great if we had like back-to-back labs where we could just continue the same kind of storyline so that you get the full, basically like a boot camp. But yeah, timing is going to be the key.
Maybe
Can
it's
you
the
all
topic
hear me
for
okay now?
Adapto in Germany. Roman.
What's that?
Adapto is our kind
Yeah.
of tech, Sling conference.
Exactly.
One quick thing
Right, Chris.
on what Eric was talking about, and also a small plug for both our future conversations around DA. But anyone can do this. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and to kind of talk a little bit to what others were saying about like they wish they could do the labs offline. So let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. Just go
And
here.
Chris, it was awesome that you were in the booth when that gentleman wanted to get more information about, document authoring, and you were like, "Yeah, here, let me just show you." You just sat down at a machine and did, I assume, what you're going to show some of.
Yeah, I mean a little bit, but for those that want to do, if you're curious about some of the newer developments in document authoring, the TLDR is that Adobe Commerce Storefront is basically, last year we announced the drop-ins, and so that was really about like document-based authoring with SharePoint and Google Drive. This year, Adobe Commerce and DA and Edge Delivery Services kind of came together, and it's all one thing. So it is the reference implementation. So if you use Commerce, you're using DA. So no more SharePoint, no more Google Drive. If you want to go, like, you're definitely not writing code. So if you want to write code, we've got plenty of places for you to do that. But if you do go to this org, Adobe Summit L320, you can just pick a seat, any seat, doesn't matter. And again, to along the comments that we had, if I pick, let's say, seat 2, the workbook is right here. It's a living, breathing document, and so it's at the top of every single seat. You can click on this and you can walk through this. All of this stuff is still live. You can still do it. You may see some demo content from somebody before you, but you can walk through this entire thing. The documentation is absolutely incredible. You can work on your own pace. You can get a sense of like what's all the differences. One of the big things that was probably buried in all of the summit announcements is that if we take one of these pages, so like a really good example is the homepage here. This is probably going to be a little bit of a surprise for a lot of folks, but DA and Universal Editor are now coming together. So you can use all of the APIs and everything that you're used to from DA and Edge Delivery Services, and you can open up this exact same page. So here we have this button because we have Universal Editor turned on. So you can open up this exact same page. So this is JCR-less Universal Editor editing, and you've got your generate variations and everything. So if we were to change this text here, if this is all working, so welcome to Summit, welcome to, how about after Summit? After Summit. So we can hit done here. So that's going to save out. And then if we were to open this up again, this is being persisted into, here you can see welcome to after Summit. So this is being persisted right into DA. So for the first time ever, you can open up in document-based authoring with DA, or you can open up in UE, the same content repository, same code base, everything. It's really great. But the big thing is like go into L320, Adobe Summit L320, the workbook's right there, and just walk through the lessons, and it's really pretty great.
That is amazing, Chris. And thank you so much for sharing that. That's a brilliant example. So can you share the link to?
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you want the full like top to bottom integration with AEM assets and how does this all work together, it gives you an Adobe Events login, so you can log in, get in the correct org and everything. So you're already provisioned and everything. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah, I'll look for the link to Lamont's content and see if I can share that as well here, because I think that would be cool.
Yeah, just put all into the chat. I will also put it then on the recording on YouTube. So
Yeah, oh, that's great.
So
All
yeah,
right,
we'll keep this around for maybe like another couple of weeks. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be on there forever. So definitely, if you want to check it out, check it out in the next couple of weeks. And I think that's kind of the same. That's the same messaging that we gave to other folks in labs I've seen. Is the environment's going to be up, and so we told people that came to the labs, take the workbook with you, take the link to it, and it's not going to get shut off for about a week or two. So you should be okay to continue trying it at your leisure. Okay, so here's some of the innovation sessions that we had. The top AEM sites innovations with Cedric and Gagan go through just a ton of stuff. I mean, all of these do. Assets innovations, forms innovations, and then I added one from Corey talking about elevating AEM with the power of generative AI. So that's not really a developer-focused one. Well, these are specifically developer-focused, so they're more just on innovation. But definitely a lot of fantastic content to see kind of where things are headed in our various sections here. I don't know. Did anyone? Well, Roman's not here anymore, but I don't know. Chris, did you attend any of these, or Eric, any of these innovation sessions?
No, but I do want to have I do have a comment, especially for our partners that might be on the call. If you can, please try to get in touch with the folks around Experience Catalyst. Something that we have seen, they're kind of in a deluge of interested people, but one of the things that we've seen with edge delivery when approaching customers is you go to a customer and you're like, hey, here's the boilerplate, and hey, it's really easy to use. And a lot of times customers have a very hard time making that leap from their website to what the boilerplate is and kind of smashing those two ideas together. And they're like, I don't understand how the F you're going to get to my website with this boilerplate. And Experience Catalyst really does provide you a path to very quickly by human standards, build out some POC sites. Now, you as a developer may not want to be downwind of AEM generated code, or even AEM or AI generated code, not AEM generated code, AI generated code.
Yeah.
AEM generated code is perfect. But you may not want to be downwind of AI generated code or AI generated content, but to kind of like, if it's something, and even for customers that are on this call, like, if you're trying to convince your stakeholders of like, here's the latest and greatest, and like, here's the way, like you keep saying, how do we do more with less? How are we more productive? Like, we all know that edge delivery services is the most productive way to make a website. But it does require a paradigm shift. And so convincing those stakeholders and things. So if you can, please try and get access to Experience Catalyst so you can do those POCs. I've seen the code and content that it spits out. It's actually pretty decent. I wouldn't necessarily say that like it's going to be perfect, because it's not. Like, we know with AI stuff, it's like 80% good if you apply the right sort of guardrails, and then 25% you got to do some work. So it's very similar, but it gets you shockingly far. So that was kind of my favorite thing, because we've had the importer, but it's a very laborious process. It's a very manual process. So as you are trying to go after those new customers, or convince your existing component-based customers that like, hey, document-based authoring is really fast and really easy, despite being maybe less exciting than component-based, it really does help. We've had a bunch of calls recently where we've been able to show customers that were like went from like pure disbelief of like, you will never convince me that this is the right way, to, oh my gosh, I see it, I understand it, let's go. And the pure difference was they saw their own content being rendered in edge delivery services. So try and get involved in Experience Catalyst, get on the list as quickly as you possibly can.
Yep. I love the idea of like being able to like point it to some external URL, even if that URL is not on AEM at all. And it helps simplify that migration. We have a couple of customers that are also interested in that. So,
yep. I'm a
really
big AI skeptic, and even
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is cool. This is like really, really cool. Not an AI skeptic. I'm just pro-human.
Right.
Right. Exactly. There you go. That's a better framing.
Is there someone specific we can reach out to get our hands on that, or?
Paolo is probably the best. And yeah, just kind of say like, hey, I'm a partner. I'm not looking for a lot of support. I just want access to go run through the thing,
Yep.
and the more hands off, the more we can give this in people that can stay kind of hands off and are not high touch, like folks like you, Eric. I think we would all be better off.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Right on. All right. So I think one of the biggest, if not the biggest one for AEM, the announcements that we had was on main stage, the first day of Adobe Experience Manager Sites Optimizer. And this is essentially the tooling to make your actually There's a session here. I'll actually just show the link to the session real quick. But there's a session by Hyman, the product manager, and Kartik, the product marketing manager, that they did on this, and they use the car metaphor, which I think is used a lot with AEM, right? Like you're buying a Ferrari or you're buying an F1. I mean, the theme this year for the Bash was F1, so they went with F1. But you've got this super powerful system. Then how do you maintain it? How do you tune it? How do you get it to perform at the absolute apex? So Sites Optimizer is essentially the way for you to leverage the data that we're collecting about your website and tell you prescriptively where there might be broken backlinks, where there might be opportunities for SEO changes, where there might be conversion limitations there. And then it not only auto identifies these opportunities, but because your website is on edge delivery services, I think this is the value unlock for going to edge delivery services. And I think these things kind of chain together, that Experience Catalyst, getting it onto that, and then being able to leverage Sites Optimizer to then basically have it make the changes for you. And there are certainly customers that would, for various areas that potentially are identified through Sites Optimizer, may want to manage that themselves. We've heard from a number of customers that it's great to just have the identification of what those opportunities are and some of the remediation, things that you can take to remediate those issues, and then it gets bundled into their standard kind of developer pipeline. But yeah, I don't know if anybody here has any other thoughts about Sites Optimizer. I mean, it's today it is based on Adobe Experience Manager websites for now, anyways. And so that's across any implementation. So whether it's using AMS, cloud service, it doesn't matter. You can leverage the Sites Optimizer.
Looks really interesting. How does it integrate into one of those sites? Do you have to do any sort of instrumentation to set that up?
So the team did instrumentation for managed services. Cloud services, I think, was already on it, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken, but so essentially the instrumentation went live for those customers earlier this year. So that allows us to offer it across all three of those implementation types.
And it's partially based on Rum, is that correct? Which a lot of
Yeah.
sites are probably already instrumented for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Exactly.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, it is a pretty fantastic thing. Yeah, so I mean, I could show the 2-minute video on it, but maybe we can just have it as the have a link to the video rather than maybe show it in the session. Any other areas that I mean, we had a ton of agentic kind of announcements. We had Brand Concierge, which is I think a fantastic tool for brands to leverage that up the conversational capabilities for those brands with their customers, for creating that kind of hyper personalized content with low effort, if you will, or not as needing as much effort. And then we had what was the one, Dominic, from AEP, the orchestrator?
The Adobe Experience Platform Agent Orchestrator. Yes.
There you go. Yeah. So our naming is always a beautiful thing at Adobe, our branding and naming. But yeah, so that was day 2. Anjul took to the stage and talked about how these AI focused offerings, solutions from Adobe are going to be, agentic aware, essentially being able to orchestrate across them so that you're not limited to just the functionality and potentially one of them, but you're able to use the AP agent orchestrator to create complex workflows and processes across the AI systems that we have in place, like generate variations or content AI coming from AEM, and then tying that into like the AJO. I think there's an AJO agent. There's a handful of them today, but the idea is that they'll be able to interoperate. But yeah. So any other comments or insights from Summit or from what you've heard or what you're interested in? I don't know, Chris, if you have any other insights from conversations that you might have had with folks.
I think we had this with our and I feel like Eric and I were everywhere together last week. We had some really interesting feedback from customers and partners around how Edge Delivery Services is being sold, and I saw that quite a bit. And I think what's interesting is I talked to several very, very, very large customers, like Fortune 500 customers, and under the sort of umbrella of like Adobe.com has gone through these sort of transformations, these sort of replatforming scenarios. And when we start these conversations, these folks, and they're decision makers, but they're not necessarily steeped in the sort of world of AEM and the latest and greatest. So a lot of these customers were going in and they're like, "Hey, how did you move to cloud service?" And we're like, we didn't. We just went to Edge Delivery Services." And they think, and again, this is like a sales thing, it's a PM thing, it's a customer education thing. We have not done a good enough job explaining the differences, and again, I think it's a very self-owned problem. Educating like where you can get the benefits of what. So if you're looking to reduce, if let's say these customers were all on-prem, so they're all on 6.4, 6.5, and they're like, "Hey, tell us how you moved to cloud service," and we're like, "We didn't. We went to Edge Delivery Services. We're customer zero. We knew we were going to have some pain. We knew that there were some rough edges, but we did it, and we're happier for it." And because they're like going into it like, "Oh, I've got to swap out Circle CI for Cloud Manager, and now I've got to like retool all of that stuff, and maybe I have a ton of existing Java code that is not up to snuff with like Cloud Manager code quality rules." So they're like thinking that they're going to go into these things and then they're going to get a bunch of benefits, and it's like, no, you're. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but if you move to cloud service and you're using like traditional components and page editor, you're kind of just getting more of the same, and you really didn't reap, like, you're not getting any of the benefits. The three benefits of Edge Delivery Services, which is like easier to create content for, really great core web vitals, perfect lighthouse score, and easy to develop for. Well, if you're effectively doing a lift and shift from components to components on cloud service, you don't get any of those three things. And there's just a lack of education there. And to like say like, "Hey, if when we show you our core web vitals, when we show you that we're doing multiple releases a day, you're not getting that like via a Cloud Manager CI pipeline. I'm sorry, you're just not. Like we can talk about RDEs and all this stuff, but you're not getting that." And so like it was relatively eye-opening to like see through our customers' eyes that like we're not doing a good enough job educating customers. And we know like the overwhelming majority of customers are still on a component-based like implementation. And so even like getting them to Universal Editor and Crosswalk or on Authorbus, would be would be that change, because what I fear is that these customers think that they're going to cloud service and they're going to reap all the things that they hear about on stage, and it's like, no, you got to be on edge delivery to do that, like, you know. And so that was pretty eye opening. That was like one of my big takeaways, is like we have a lot of work to do to explain how customers can achieve those benefits, and how do we do this in a high level way that it surfaces up to the decision makers. The lower level nerds know this stuff, but like that message is not getting to the directors, the VPs, etc. And you know, the other thing that I say is, like, when we do tell customers like, hey, you need to move to, and Ron, you and I have talked about this, like, you need to get something out a traditional AEM door. You're looking at 5 different technologies. You're probably looking at 2 developers. You're looking at a Java developer and a front end developer. And a lot of these companies are like, oh my gosh, we got to retrain our staff. And what about, like, there's a sunken cost fallacy here of like, but my team, again, these are high level decision makers. So they're like, my team wrote all this code and we want to bring it forward. And the only way we can bring that code forward is through cloud service. And it's like, the question I ask these folks is like, do you know of any engineer that is proud of the code that they wrote last week? And hopefully the answer is no. Like, none of us should be happy with the code we wrote, you know, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, because we've learned, oh, I wouldn't do it that way again. So like this sort of like fallacy of like, I want to bring my old code. I don't know of a single developer that actually wants to bring along their old code.
I love all of my code, Chris. Every line of code I've ever written.
I loved it at the time.
I think it's more the managers who said all the budget I spent on it and this is lost, and not the developers who are losing their code, maybe.
Yeah. So like, again, it's just like sort of like walking them through, like, if you spend like more than 5 seconds thinking about these things of like, I'm going to ask my team to bring along 10-year-old code or 5-year-old code. Code ages in dog years. Like 1 year is like 7 years. So you really, that's why all of my projects are named after dogs, apparently. Kidding. But seriously, like, you know, we have to do a better job of like, you think you want to bring along that old code, but you really don't. Like, you just don't.
Yeah. It's a mind shift change, right?
Yeah. And I get that, like, I'm team scorched earth all the time, but sometimes I'm right.
I can resonate with pretty much everything you said, Chris. Like, we have a customer who's on AMS today, 6.5, using the older SPA editor. It's all React based. And, you know, naturally there were a lot of technical challenges that came with that implementation. They couldn't use some of the AEM features that they assumed they could use because of that implementation under the hood. So I'm in conversations with them now on the notion of edge delivery services. I think it's going well, but as you said, I'm talking with some of the key decision makers who are higher up in the org. So I have to kind of distill it down to them of, hey, like, edge delivery services offers all these benefits. You don't have to do the traditional cloud migration path that you thought you would. Because, like you said, there's not a whole lot of value in just taking your current 6.5 AEM site and putting it in the cloud. You're spending a lot of money just to move it from one place to another, but still effectively get the same experience. And I still have a lot of convincing to show them that even from a development standpoint, the workflows of developing an EDS are dramatically simplified. And like you said, from a talent perspective, one of their goals is to eventually become self-sufficient and hire their own dev team. With EDS, it's so much, they can find people so much easier who can pick up the technology. It's just vanilla JavaScript and CSS at the surface level, as opposed to somebody who's highly experienced in AEM and has to understand OSGI and Sling and HTML, Dispatcher, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an ongoing conversation. It's tricky, but I'm confident that EDS can actually show that real value to them, and I'm hoping we'll get there pretty soon.
Yeah, it's great. I think definitely the move to edge delivery services. I think one of the messages I think we need to do a better job of maybe and get this message out more is for companies to think more in smaller, like kind of land and expand kind of a project where you're just doing a section of the website to kind of prove the benefit of edge delivery, and then broadly taking the learnings from doing that in-house to then doing like larger migration programs. And I think definitely the Project Site Leap sneak that Paolo showed, that when it becomes GA will become, I think, a force multiplier for companies and partners to be able to more rapidly move it over, so that it becomes less of an issue in terms of time commitment. But yeah. All right. Well, we've got like 5 minutes left. Super great conversation. Thanks for joining today. I don't know if anybody has any parting comments, other than, man, I got a lot of content to catch up on from Summit.
Yeah,
I do have one last question. Oh, sorry.
No.
For customers who are interested in DA, it sounded like even if that customer wasn't a commerce customer, they can still start considering that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Just reach out to you, I assume.
Yeah. Or Martin Bierge.
Sure. Okay.
So Martin is a good resource. Yeah. So yeah, DA is available to everyone. It's still considered early access technology. We are sort of prioritizing the commerce use case, but other customers are absolutely welcome. We have overwhelmingly non-customer or non-commerce people on DA now.
Great.
But we really wanted to show our commitment to the commerce people that we want to give them like the best of the best as far as CMS capabilities go. Nothing is official, but we're hoping to be GA in June. We have a lot of things to get done there, and we have a path to get there. So, stay tuned on that. We're overly transparent, I think, because we want everyone to know what's going on. So, yeah, reach out. We can give you any sort of support you need.
Yeah,
Thank you.
the easiest thing would be to just join the next session, because the next session is
Yeah,
on
exactly.
April
That's a
10,
good-
and Chris
I'll
will
be
speak
there.
about DA. Definitely. that
Yeah,
would be a good
latest
session.
DA developments, I think, or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Gosh.
Cool. Looking forward
So
to it.
actually, along those lines, like if everyone wants to pile up some questions and like hey, cover this, cover that for the event, you said next week or 2 weeks?
April
weeks.
10, 2 weeks.
Yeah, so in 2
Okay.
weeks.
So let's compile a bunch of questions and we'll knock them all out. Make sure everybody's got their answers, get their questions answered.
Yeah.
Cool.
Super.
Right.
Any other question? I think we have 2 minutes left. Otherwise. Okay, Chris already dropped off.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining, and yeah.
Yeah. See you in 2
I
weeks.
Thank you.
think we can call it.
If you
See
have
you later.
questions. Good.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.